Welcome to the Baboom Baboom podcast, your go-to source for expert tips on car stereo installation, vehicle wiring, and all things wiring related. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, we've got the advice to help you power up your ride. Get ready to crank up the volume on your knowledge and make your next wiring project a success.
Ever blast your favorite tunes in the car and then suddenly, bam, the speaker's crackling or the sound gets all muffled?
Oh, yeah.
Happens to the best of us. And it's easy to just assume, oh, my speakers are shot, but the problem might actually be hiding right under our noses, or I guess under the door panels. Speaker wires.
Right.
That's what we're diving into today, why they're more important than we think, when they need replacing, and how to actually get this, upgrade them ourselves.
You know, it's funny. We spend all this time thinking about the speakers, the head unit, all of that. But those wires, they're like the unsung heroes of the whole car audio system.
Yeah.
And they just take a beating, especially in a car, the heat, the vibrations.
It's true. They're not exactly living a pampered life.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
It's no wonder they wear down over time.
Okay, so that's a great starting point. Our source today is this awesome article from Baboom Baboom. They're all about car audio, and they really break down replacing speaker wires, like step by step. But before we get into the nitty-gritty of stripping wires and all that, let's talk about the why. Like, why bother replacing them at all? Isn't that just a pro thing?
It's a great question. And honestly, it goes beyond just like fixing a crackling speaker.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Upgrading your speaker wires. It's like switching from, that old blurry TV to a brand new 4K screen, but for your ears.
Oh, I like that.
You've already got the good sound system, right?
Oh.
But those old tired wires, they're holding it back.
So what you're saying is even if my wires aren't completely toast, there's still a noticeable difference in sound quality if I upgrade.
100%. And speaking of toast, that brings us to another reason to replace those wires, and it's a big one, safety.
Wait, hold on. Safety, as in like driving hazard safety.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
See, those wires get old, they get brittle, the insulation cracks, and suddenly you've got bare wires just hanging out.
Oh, no.
And if the wires touch the wrong piece of metal, boom, short circuit.
And that's bad because
Because a short circuit is basically electricity saying, you know what, I'm taking a shortcut, and that can be dangerous.
oh, okay. Like really dangerous.
Yeah, it can overheat your wiring, damage the car's electrical system, in worst case scenarios, even start a fire.
Okay, you definitely got my attention now. So we've got wear and tear, potential fire hazards, and of course that sweet, sweet sound quality upgrade. I'm convinced, gotta give those speaker wires some love.
Exactly. And the best part is replacing them.
Yeah.
Totally something you can do yourself.
Real?
Oh yeah, Baboom Baboom. They lay out this clear 6-step process. Anybody can handle it.
All right, you've piqued my interest. Let's get into it. What's first on the list for a car audio makeover?
First things first, gotta get access. That means detaching the radio from the dashboard.
Okay, so before I go ripping my entire dashboard apart.
Hold your horses. It's often way simpler than it looks.
Okay.
A lot of cars now, they use clips or pressure fittings to hold the radio in. You just gotta find those release points and gently, gently pry it out.
Speaking of prying, the article mentioned these trim removal tools. What are those exactly?
Those are key. They're like special flathead screwdrivers, but with these nice wide blades so you don't scratch up your dashboard. You can grab a set for cheap at any auto parts store.
Good to know. All right, so the radio's out. What's next?
Next up, we got to free the speakers themselves. They're usually in the doors, so you'll probably need to take off the door panels. Again, flathead screwdriver is your friend. Little patience goes a long way. And pro tip, keep track of those screws.
Oh, for sure. Nothing worse than that last screw with no idea where it goes.
Been there. But with the radio and speakers out of the way, now the fun begins breaking out that new speaker wire. And this is where Baboom Baboom, they really hit on something important. They say, whatever length you think you need, add about 15 inches.
15 inches, isn't that like a bit much?
It might seem like overkill, but trust me, this is a classic case of measure twice, cut once. That extra length gives you some wiggle room when you're running the wires through the car.
So you're not pulling them taut, potentially damaging them.
Exactly. It's all about working smarter, not harder. Speaking of which, you ready for the next step?
Lay it on me. What's next in this car audio adventure?
Now we're getting to the good stuff, the actual connecting of those new wires. And this is where things get interesting.
Okay, so the old stuff is out, new wires are prepped, and ready installation time. What's the next move in our car audio operating room?
Need top-quality electrical wire? Baboom Baboom's got you covered. Get your 6-pack today. Each combo comes in 6 different colors and a total of 600 feet of wire. Perfect for any project, and you won't find a better price in the industry. Head over to baboombaboom.com now to snag yours. That's baboombaboom.com.
Step 4 takes us to either the amplifier or the head unit, depends on how your car's set up.
Okay.
This is where we connect those fresh speaker wires. And the article, it really stresses this point. You got to strip back a little insulation from the wire ends, just enough to expose the bare wire for a solid connection.
So we're carefully, revealing the good stuff inside. Not too much, not too little.
Exactly. You get it. Too much bare wire, you increase the risk of a short. Too little, you might end up with a weak connection.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for this part of the article, it actually suggests soldering these connections, makes them super strong and reliable.
Soldering, huh? Okay, that sounds kind of complicated.
Think of it like a hot glue gun, but for wires. It basically fuses them together with this metal, creates a permanent bond that won't come loose, even with all the vibrations in a car.
Okay, that makes it way easier to picture.
Mhm.
Now, are there different kinds of soldering irons out there, or is it pretty much a one-size-fits-all situation?
There are definitely some nuances, but Baboom Baboom, they recommend just a basic soldering iron for this kind of car audio work. Honestly, it's easier than it sounds. Maybe practice on some spare wire first if you're new to it.
Right, always good to get a test run in. All right, so wires are connected on the head unit end. Now, what about the actual speakers themselves? How do those get hooked up?
That's step 5, connecting to those speakers we carefully removed. And this part is where being detail-oriented really pays off. The article stresses double-checking 2 things, wire gauge and polarity.
Let's break those down, starting with wire gauge. We're talking about the thickness of the wire here, right?
Yeah.
Thicker means?
Bingo! You're on the right track. Thicker wires, lower gauge number. They can handle more power. So if you've got, bigger speakers, a powerful system, you got to match that.
So it's kind of like if you think of water flowing through a hose, a bigger hose can handle more pressure without bursting.
Exactly. And just like that hose, using wire that's too thin, well, you could lose power, or worse, damage your equipment.
Right, right. The right tool for the job, or in this case, the right wire for the wattage. Now, what about polarity? What's the deal with that?
Okay, so polarity. It's all about making sure the positive and negative ends of your speaker wire are hooked up to the right spots on both the speaker and the head unit, or amp.
So kind of like making sure you put a battery in the right way around, positive to positive, negative to negative?
Spot on. You get it. Now, getting the polarity wrong, it's not going to, fry your system.
Yeah.
But what it'll do is create this thing called out-of-phase audio.
Out of phase doesn't sound good.
And it doesn't sound good. The music, it'll be weak, thin, no bass. It's like the speakers are fighting each other instead of working together.
Yeah, no thanks. I want them working in harmony.
Exactly. So take your time, double-check those connections, get it right the first time.
For sure. Don't want to be redoing all this. So we've got the right connections. Wires are the correct gauge. Positive and negative are all matched up. Are we ready to button everything back up?
We're on the home stretch, almost there. Step 6, it's reassembly time at this time, with those beautiful new wires in place.
Okay, so we've run our new speaker wires, soldered everything up like pros, double, triple check that polarity. I'm feeling pretty good.
Right. It's like we performed open-heart surgery on this car audio system.
Exactly. And now it's time to close everything up.
Almost. Step 6, it's all about putting everything back together, but, with those fresh wires in place. So reinstalling the speakers, making sure those wires are routed nice and neat, no spaghetti messes, and finally popping that radio back into the dashboard.
Reinstalling the speakers, I think I can manage that part. But routing the wires neatly, that's where I'd probably mess things up, end up with a tangled mess and a couple extra screws. Any pro tips from Baboom Baboom? They gotta have some secret sauce.
Oh, they definitely do. They're big on hiding wires under the floorboard whenever possible.
Yeah.
Not only does it look a million times cleaner, but it also protects the wires from getting kicked or damaged.
Yeah, makes sense. Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. Think of it like those little plastic channels you can use to hide TV wires along your baseboard.
Ah, I see. What about keeping those wires secure? We don't want any rattling going on back there.
Absolutely not. Baboom Baboom recommends using cable ties, or even just some electrical tape to secure the wires to existing bundles or brackets under the dashboard.
Smart.
The goal is nothing loosey-goosey, no dangling wires that could cause problems down the road.
Got it. Secure those wires like our lives depend on it. So with that, I think we've officially tackled all 6 steps. We are, dare I say it, Dakar audio wiring masters.
Hey, I think we've earned those stripes today.
High five.
But like any good DIY project, there's always more to learn, always ways to up your game. And speaking of which, Baboom Baboom, they didn't stop at just those 6 steps. They threw in a few bonus pro tips, and they are gold.
Oh, bonus round. I'm all ears. Lay 'em on me.
All right, pro tip number 1 is a classic. Applies for pretty much any project, really. Don't skimp on quality.
So you get what you pay for, even with speaker wire. Isn't all wire pretty much the same?
That's a common misconception. Investing in good quality speaker wire, yeah, it might cost a bit more up front, but in the long run, it can make a huge difference in how things sound, how long the wires last, even safety. Remember, those wires, they're carrying the heart of your music.
That's a good way to put it. Okay, makes sense. Pro tip number 2. What else we got?
This one's all about being prepared. The article, it stresses how important it is to actually consult your car's manual and the speaker manufacturer's instructions before you go all in.
Wait, really? I gotta dust off those old manuals.
I know. Not the most exciting part, but trust me, every car is a little different. There might be some quirks, some specific recommendations for your make and model.
Okay, fair enough. Better to be safe than sorry. All right, last but not least, hit me with that final pro tip.
This one's all about that moment of truth. Before you button everything up, take the time to test your work.
Wait, so don't just assume I did it right. Actually make sure it works before I put the entire car back together.
Exactly. Hook everything up temporarily, turn the system on, give it a listen. Make sure you're getting sound from all the speakers. Balance is good. No weird distortion.
Ah, that's the sound of success.
Exactly.
That way, if something's off, we can fix it before it's too late.
Exactly. Prevention is key.
Wow, this deep dive has been amazing. I gotta say, I went from feeling intimidated by car wiring to actually feeling like I could tackle this myself.
That's the power of a good guide, a little knowledge, and a can-do attitude.
For real. And who knows, this might just be the start. Maybe replacing speaker wires is my gateway into full-on car audio upgrades. But for now, I think my brain is officially full. So to all our listeners out there who are feeling inspired to give their car's sound system a boost, remember, it's not as scary as it sounds. Get yourself a good guide, be patient, maybe watch a soldering tutorial or two, and you can totally do this. And hey, you might even surprise yourself with your inner car audio guru. Until next time, happy listening, everyone.
Need top-quality electrical wire? Baboom Baboom's got you covered. Get your 6-pack today. Each combo comes in 6 different colors and a total of 600 feet of wire. Perfect for any project, and you won't find a better price in the industry. Head over to baboombaboom.com now to snag yours. That's baboombaboom.com.